Coming up on the Complete Plate, we'll be discussing how to assemble dishes without any appliances, and later we're going to be talking on the sweet topic of sugar. Hi, welcome to the Complete Plate. My name is Loren Klukas. I am a personal trainer, or I guess I was a personal trainer. Fitness was my life. My career revolved around fitness. My life revolved around fitness. I was a high-level competitive swimmer, a personal trainer. In 2013, I was diagnosed with a rare heart condition called arrhythmogenic right ventricle cardiomyopathy, or ARVC, which is a little simpler to remember. As a result of this diagnosis, I am no longer allowed to exercise for the rest of my life. This diagnosis was very difficult to cope with, but after I finally had a chance to accept my new reality of not being allowed to exercise anymore, I realized the only way I was going to control and manage my weight was purely through proper nutrition. I started to look on the market, and all I could find were detox diets or fad diets that would last for 2 weeks, and then I would automatically go back to bad eating habits. As a result of my diagnosis, I don't have the luxury of doing that. And I saw a need for bringing scientifically backed information to the market. And I started a project called the Complete Plate, and our goal is to equip people with the tools to be able to establish long-term sustainable healthy eating habits. And one of the ways that I knew I would be able to successfully establish this platform and to be able to help people was to collaborate and surround myself with experts in various areas of the field, including nutrition and cooking. And so with me, I'd like to introduce the blonde and the brunette to our team.
So my name is Janine Alenko, and I work as a registered dietitian in Calgary. I did my nutrition degree out in Nova Scotia and an internship in Ontario, and I am now finishing my Master's of Public Health.
Awesome, thanks Janine.
I'm Ashley Gillespie. I am a Red Seal chef, and I specialize in pastry. I did most of my training overseas in Australia and New Zealand, and then I challenged my Red Seal when I got back to Canada.
Awesome. So I've been very blessed to be surrounded by an amazing group of ladies. And our goal together, we're very united. We want to help people to establish sustainable, healthy eating habits. And a few of the key areas to be able to maintain that long term and to be able to achieve this is through, we've decided 3 pillars to attain food wellness. And so the first pillar is through meal planning. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how good of a cook you are, if you're not organized, it's not going to translate into the kitchen, and you're not going to be able to have these healthy meals at your table by dinner time. Additionally, it doesn't matter how much head knowledge you have, you can know everything you need to know about nutrition, but if you can't cook, you're not going to be able to achieve sustainable healthy eating habits. So our goal is to train you and to equip you with those 3 tools. So Janine, establishing sustainable eating habits, it seems like with all of the information we have surrounding us today, like this should be easy to do. Why do you think it is that there's so many barriers for people to establish long-term healthy eating habits?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Lauren, and there's 3 main barriers. And one of them you already touched on, and that's our access to information. So like you said, we are surrounded by so much information that it can be really hard to tell what is good information and what is not based on fact, because anybody can post on social media, anybody can make a web page that comes up on Google. So finding reliable information can be really challenging. I think another barrier that we have is just confidence in the kitchen. And it can be really overwhelming to get into the kitchen and to start experimenting with new things. So building that confidence and just exploring in the kitchen, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
The misconception that healthy cooking takes a lot of time. And so, there's lots of convenience foods that we can purchase. They're already made. All you need to do is pop it in the microwave. And so it's overcoming that misconception and helping people realize, how can you make healthy eating the easy choice? How can you do prep ahead of time so that it is convenient to grab a healthy snack out of your fridge, then go into your pantry and grab a snack that's really high in sugar or salt? So those are the 3 that I can think of, but there's lots.
And so Ashley, why do you think it is that people lack confidence in the kitchen?
Well, first of all, it's super overwhelming. You go to the grocery store and you see these ingredients that you can't even pronounce. So like, why would you even pick them up if you can't even say it properly? And also, I think people are so overwhelmed with convenience. And so why make it from scratch if you can just go and buy it, right? So I think you have to really scrape down to the basics and taste everything, you know, and it's all about experimentation and figuring it all out from scratch. So
it just goes to show how important it is to get people back into the kitchen and get people falling in love with cooking again, because it has been really, this convenience has led to the development of so many unhealthy foods. And as a result of that, with people just having such a negative association and an intimidation of the kitchen, on our episode today, we're going to show you how to assemble dishes together without the use of any appliances. So if you're intimidated by the stove and the oven, you have no more excuses after this episode. And then later, we're going to talk about the sweet topic of sugar and all the controversy that goes around that. Welcome back to The Complete Plate. So as we were discussing before, there's really become a lack of confidence in the kitchen and people are getting away from the kitchen. And even for myself, I'm guilty of it. 2 years ago, I could not cook. And now for it to be my greatest source of joy is kind of comical. And so for myself, I found when I got my diagnosis from my family doctor, I was like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna control my weight now? And she said, you need to learn to love the cooking process. And I remember walking away just feeling kind of defeated by that. I was like, what does that mean? Like, how do you just all of a sudden start loving something that has been a chore for so long? So I left and I kind of meditated on that, and I watched a lot of cooking shows, and I was like, so why do they love to cook, and what's different from them than from myself? And I noticed a lot of them had similar cookware. And so one of the things I thought is like, hey, maybe if I invest in some proper cookware and food starts to actually turn out, I'll start to build some confidence in the kitchen. So one of my favorite pieces of kitchen equipment, if you're just getting started and you want to know where to start, is the enamel cast iron brazier. With braising, you start off with the dry heat and then you add the liquid, and that's cooking portion where you have the liquid is kind of where it can correct the dish from any damage that you've done previously.
Yeah, and it also like brings a caramelization to it as well. So if you do burn it a little bit, it actually turns into a bit of a caramel. So you can kind of like fix your mistakes that way. And if you can't, then just order pizza. That's my like go-to.
And I think that's what people need to understand as well, and I love your perspective on that, is it's not always gonna turn out perfect in the kitchen, and to not get discouraged by that, but to at least start to try. So I highly recommend investing in the proper cookware. If you only wanna invest in one piece, definitely at the enamel cast iron brazier. But now, Ashley, we're gonna play a bit of a game here. So explain this game to me and Janine and what we're going to be doing.
So I'm going to give you guys some herbs, and then you can try to guess and see what they are. One huge tip: don't overdo your spices. If you're just starting out, one herb will be fine for a dish. If you want to incorporate more as you go along, that's completely awesome as well. But don't overwhelm yourself.
Perfect. Okay, so me and Janine we'll go on the honor system because we don't have a blindfold, but we're gonna give us a sample and we have to try and guess what each spice is. Okay, Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna try it.
You can,
Okay.
yeah.
Get my hand open? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I know what this one is. Is it dill?
Yes, yours still.
Is it cilantro?
Yes.
Should we do the next one then? Okay, eyes closed. Okay. Like, I don't think you put anything in.
Okay, I think I might know by the texture. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't hope that is strong when you eat it just raw.
That's why I was like, I'll just give you a little bit.
Mint? Oh, sorry.
No, sorry.
You're right.
It was delicious.
Yeah, no, so it's just, there's something to be said about just like appreciating each ingredient. And I think this is something key with kids too, because I find, and Janine, you can speak to this too, but I find there's a real trend of hiding veggies with kids. And I don't know if that's the best, and I try not to do that with Charlie. Sorry, my daughter's name is Charlotte, but and we call her Charlie. But with Charlie, I try to get her to appreciate every ingredient. So I don't hide broccoli, I don't hide spinach. I want her to appreciate, this is spinach, this is what it's supposed to taste like. This is broccoli, this is what it's supposed to taste like. And so far it's worked really well. She is not picky, but what do you think about
You know, that's a good question, because feeding your child healthy food is something that's really stressful to a lot of parents, because each child is so unique and everyone has their likes and dislikes. And it actually takes about 20 times of trying a food to decide whether or not you like it. So I understand, like, parents use the strategies they feel like they need to make sure their kids get the proper nutrition to grow. But I think a great technique to try is, like you said, involving your child in the cooking process, in the kitchen. And you can start that at a really young age.
Coming up next, we're going to show you how to assemble dishes for those who are still intimidated to get in the kitchen. We understand, you're not alone. I was there 2 years ago. So how to assemble healthy dishes without the use of any appliances. Welcome back to The Complete Plate. So as we promised, we are going to show you how to assemble dishes together without the use of a single kitchen appliance. So no more excuses about it being intimidated to be in the kitchen. You can still make healthy meals without a whole lot of complication. It can be simple at the end of the day. So we're gonna start off, this is kind of one of the first ingredients that I used when I started to cook was chia seeds. Chia seeds are amazing. They're high in omega-3 fatty acids and they're really high in fiber. And Janine, why are omega-3s and fiber so important for us?
So with the omega-3s, it's something that is important for our nerve health, but it's also important for our heart health as well. And the type of fiber that's in the chia seeds is great both for, helping keeping everything moving and regular, which is great for our colon health, but it also is great for helping to slow down how fast our body absorbs carbohydrates, and also helps with our heart health as well. So lots of different roles.
Chias are nutrient dense, and that's what we encourage is eating nutrient dense foods over energy dense foods. And do you want to maybe just elaborate a little bit on what the difference is between the two of those?
So when we talk about nutrient dense foods, we're talking about foods that have a lot of vitamins and minerals for the amount of calories they provide, whereas energy dense foods don't provide a lot of those vitamins and minerals, but a lot of calories. And so when we talk about healthy eating patterns, we want to focus on those foods that are providing those vitamins and minerals that our body needs to function, versus eating a lot of foods that provide high number of calories and not those other components that we need as well.
This is one of my favorite recipes. It's super simple. It's a strawberry chia jam. After I've made this, I don't think I'll buy jam from the grocery store ever again.
So we're going to start with 3 cups of strawberries. We just have freezer strawberries rather than fresh. You can use either, it's totally up to you. And don't feel like you have to just use strawberries either. You could probably use blueberries, blackberries, any kind of berry you'd like. 1 tablespoon of honey. Can they use another sweetener?
Yeah, you can definitely use whichever sweetener you prefer.
And then 6 tablespoons of chia seeds. And you're just gonna mash everything together with a masher or with a fork if you don't have a masher. The longer they sit in the fridge, the more gelatinous they get. And for the purpose of television, we have some samples. So if Janine and Lauren, do you wanna try some of the
Yeah, so this is sat in the fridge overnight.
Yes.
To gel. And I'm gonna try some because it smells really good. Janine, we're gonna
try some on the bread here?
Yeah,
Go for it. Okay, I'm just gonna dive right in.
Oh my goodness, you really don't need bread, hey?
No.
I love the texture of chia seeds.
I just have a quick note about fiber. With the chia seeds, and as well as anything that's higher in fiber, so like choosing a whole wheat bread versus a white bread, one thing to keep in mind is that there's an adjustment period for your body. And so if you never have fiber and you also introduce a lot at one time, you might find that your stomach feels a bit bubbly, maybe a little bit bloated. So something to keep in mind when you're making changes is kind of starting slow and then gradually increasing how much you're eating, as well as your water intake is something that really helps too. So
Definitely, like you said, watch your water intake. So the next thing we're gonna show you is how to make a chia pudding. So how about you show us how it's made?
For sure. So we're gonna start with the vanilla blood orange chia pudding.
Yeah.
So if you can't find blood oranges, don't feel like you have to go to every certain grocery store to locate it. You can use an orange, you can use berries, whatever you feel like. So we have 250 grams of blood orange yogurt, half a cup of almond milk, and 4 tablespoons of chia seeds. And you want to mix this all together and put it in the fridge for overnight.
Here, how about, do you want me to?
Sure, if you want to mix it together, and I'll put the other one together. Okay. Did you want to put this one together? Or mix it for me? So we have half a cup of vanilla yogurt.
Okay.
Half a cup of dark chocolate almond milk.
All right.
And you can do regular chocolate almond milk too, but I just personally really like the dark chocolate almond milk.
This is half a teaspoon of cacao nibs.
Okay.
Half a teaspoon of cocoa powder. And 4 tablespoons of chia seeds.
All right.
So if you want to give that a little bit of a mix.
So Janine, I know we were talking about this just previously about superfoods, and I feel like cacao nibs have also been kind of elevated as the superfood. I personally just put them in because I like the texture of them, but not necessarily that it's, again, some superfood that's going to cure all ailments.
Yes. Well, one of the things that's interesting with these foods like the cacao nibs is that they are part of a healthy diet, but to get large quantities of the different nutrients they have that have these health benefits, you'd have to eat more than what we would really recommend that you consume on a regular basis. So definitely the flavor is an important function they have.
So after this is set overnight, you want to saran wrap it and put it in the fridge at least 6 to 8 hours for the chia seeds to form. Then put the chia seeds on the bottom, you layer it like a parfait, chocolate, blood orange, and then the blood orange chia seed pudding on the top. You guys want to try it, or?
Oh yeah, I do.
I know that one was too beautiful.
I know, it's too pretty to eat it.
And that's a problem with some of these foods, hey, they're just too pretty to actually eat at the end of the day. Oh my gosh, that's really good. I like the tart of the blood orange with the sweetness of the dark chocolate. It works really well together. And I really like the cacao nibs adding that crunch.
These are really good ideas of ways to increase your protein intake at breakfast. So it's recommended that you try to actually evenly split your protein intake over the day, and breakfast is one meal that often lacks, and people just think it has to be like eggs or peanut butter. So it's nice to get some new creative ways, and both the chia seeds and if you're adding nuts into it are great ways to add protein and also get your chocolate fix.
We've got one last dish here that we're going to show you guys how to put together. Our take on summer roll and just another option for sandwiches.
So it's kind of fun to play around with it and try using fresh ingredients.
So we're gonna make a Mediterranean summer wrap.
So we'll start out with the rice paper. If you don't like rice paper or you can't find it in the grocery store, you can use just the butter lettuce that I'm going to be putting on top of the rice paper. It's totally another option that you can do.
I was actually so surprised at how easy it is to work with rice paper. It's very durable. So I would highly recommend, do not be intimidated by the rice paper.
So I'm just gonna let the rice paper soak. I find that a cake pan works the best because it's circular, easy. So you just want hot to medium hot water in here. Don't let it over soak, so I'll pull it out when it's time. So we got some butter lettuce, only because of the durability. It's really like a very good, kind of like a sandwich wrapper. It doesn't just break apart like regular lettuce does. We have cucumbers that we've just sliced with the mandolin so that they're a little bit thinner, so they're easier to wrap. Red peppers, feta, hummus, and some sprouts. Did you want to touch on the sprouts a little bit before?
Yeah, that's great. So sprouts are a way to, again, add some more nutrition into your dish. They're high in potassium and some of the B vitamins as well, which is really important for our nerve and brain health.
So we'll take out the rice paper wrap, and it kind of just looks a little bit like a jellyfish kind of texture, actually. I'm right. You have to like be honest when you're cooking, and be honest with your terms. So rice paper onto the cutting board. Before I go ahead of myself, you want to get a paper towel, some wet paper towel, and just wet it and put it on a plate, similar to what I have back here. And I'll show you why we're doing this in a minute. But it just keeps things ready. If you're not going to serve it right away, the rice paper does shrink up and it will crack. It's just a trick, and you can put it in the fridge and then it cuts easier as well. And then we're gonna put some hummus. And just spread it on here. We'll take some cucumbers.
So there's no traditional meat in this dish,
No.
but there's still a lot of protein.
Yeah, and if you wanted to add like cooked shrimp or tuna or something to it, you're more than welcome to. A lot of people are scared of seafood, so it's totally your option and completely up to you. So then you want to add sprouts. There is no kind of way to put this together. It pretty much looks pretty no matter how you do it. So if you're, I miss the cucumbers, it's no big deal. You can put it on there whenever. Then just take some red peppers and you crumble some feta on top. All right, so when you're wrapping, a lot of people find it really tricky to get the edges in and make them stick. So I always just try to get them to come in. Now, and a trick I do is I let it sit in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes, and it gets a little bit, the water absorbs a little bit more into the rice paper, and so it's way easier to slice, and you can tuck the edges in a little bit more. So, but remember to put the cold paper towel or wet paper towel over top of your rice paper wraps, because then it will actually not go back into a rice paper that you can't actually eat. So,
and then we have some tzatziki to dip it
yes,
in.
and then we'll have some tzatziki sauce that we can dip it in as well. So.
Thank you. I've been really looking forward to this.
You can tell which parts are Loren's favorite.
I'll get some tzatziki sauce for you guys. Just use a fork to get it on. Here, we'll just drizzle it on. The tzatziki sauce is totally up to you. If you don't like it, you don't have to. It's just an extra added flavor. And then it also has yogurt in it as well, so you get that added benefit.
I'm going for it.
And when you're slicing it, just make sure you cut all the way through. Don't be hesitant with your knife, because then that's when everything will just unwrap. So, what do you guys think? Good?
I'm supposed to tell you how it tastes, but it's so good.
Very fresh and delicious.
Yeah.
That is so, like, I could eat this every single day for lunch.
Yeah.
The saltiness of the feta with the creaminess of the hummus and the refreshingness of everything else.
It's nice and crisp.
It's a nice like really crunch to your palate, right?
Yeah. You should just make it and try it, because it's really good.
And smoked salmon would also be a really good
that would be
added feature in this too.
Awesome. So. Well, I hope you guys have been inspired to try some of these recipes that require no appliances at all. And when we come back, we'll be talking on the sweet topic of sugar. Welcome back to The Complete Plate. In this segment, we're going to be talking all about the sweet topic of sugar. And it is a topic that is controversial, hey Janine? Yes. So it's very confusing, because we hear one day not to eat sugar, sugars are bad for us. And then the next day it's like, okay, eat sugars, but you can't have these sugars, you can't have these sugars. Can you provide some clarification for us just on in the realm of sugar and what we should be concerned about, and what's truth and what's trendy?
And that's a great way to put it. What is truth and what is trendy? And we definitely get carried away with the trendy aspect a lot. And one thing I really want to emphasize is that this isn't an eat this, not that approach. We want to take the fear out of eating, take the guilt out of eating things that you enjoy, that might be sweet, but just give you the information that you need to make a good informed choice about what you are eating and that you can feel confident in. So out here we have white sugar, we have agave nectar, coconut nectar, honey, icing sugar, brown sugar, and regular coconut sugar. So lots of different ones. And this one here, the white sugar, gets the worst rap of them all.
It's pretty demonized today.
It is.
Yeah.
And an interesting fact about that is people have been growing sugarcane for about 8,000 years. So this is not something new that like the food industry has invented to try to get us addicted to their food. We like sweet. And from a survival standpoint, it makes sense. Sweet foods are high in calories. They're usually associated with higher fat foods as well. So when you're not in an environment where you have lots of food available, that's what our bodies want to eat. So we can store energy until we can eat the next time.
Is it dyed? Like, a lot of people think that it's bleached.
So we kind of compare this to like brown sugar, right? And people think that white sugar is a bleached version of brown sugar. It just is a different type of processing. Brown sugar includes the molasses that's in it, and that's what gives it the coloring. So it's not a bleached versus unbleached, it's that inclusion of the molasses that changes the color and the flavor of it a little bit. So really great question. So what I want to focus on is some of these traditional sweeteners that we have here. So things like honey, things like the agave nectar. These are sweeteners that also have different nutrients in it. So there are vitamins and minerals that are present in these sweeteners that are not present in table sugar. And things like the honey also have some possible antibacterial properties. The health effects of these sweeteners actually have not been extensively studied. So there's lots of theories of why they would be more healthy for us, but there isn't actually a lot of scientific evidence to show that that's true. And with the vitamins and minerals, most of these contain those in less than 1% of what your daily value is. So we aren't going to recommend that you eat that much of a sweetener that it actually contributes a significant amount of vitamins and minerals to your diet. So really, when it comes down to choosing which one to use for your food, I say base it off of your flavor preference. And Ashley, I think you can really come into this point here because there's also a role for sugar in cooking that isn't just flavor. And a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, so for instance, in baking, it's a binding agent as well. It's not only like flour and cornstarch that are binding, it's also sugars. Sugars will provide either like a caramel flavor or just a plain flavor, depending on your preference. Also, like salt, you want to season mostly at the end when you're cooking, because it'll bring out the sugars in your cooking.
Janine, if you could just clarify for us, because when people say low carbohydrate diets, like that seems to be the trend right now. And when people say carbohydrate, I think people so often think of sugar. And I think people don't understand that there's 9 types of carbohydrates. And do you mind elaborating on that a little bit more?
Well, I think, so looking at the different types of carbohydrates, even just in the sugar, right? So there's glucose, there's fructose, lactose, galactose, there's all different types of sugars. And then there's also more complex carbohydrates. So like what we have over here with our fruits and some of our starchy vegetables. And these are foods that naturally contain these sugars in it. But also things like bread, where it's a starch. So it's not these like simple sugar molecules. Our body really has to work to break them down. And eventually they get to those simple molecules. That's what our body absorbs and processes. And I think, again, to remember, like, sugar is sugar. Our body kind of treats it the same, regardless from the source, as an end product. And that's why we really want to focus on nutrient-dense foods. Like we were talking before, nutrient-dense foods have a lot of vitamins and minerals in them for the calories they provide, versus energy-dense foods. So some of the foods we have over to the left here don't provide as much of those nutrients for the calories. And again, this isn't an eat this, not this, ever. And I'll be the first person to say that because I love having birthday cake and Christmas cookies. It really comes down to that moderation. So instead of trying to think of eating changes as a really negative thing you have to take away, I think that's an idea a lot of people have, especially around dieting. You're always removing things from your diet. I think it's really encouraging for people to look at adding things into their diet, because when you add something in, it usually does replace something, but it's a much more positive way of looking at it. So get away from that fear approach of really feeling guilty for eating these foods. There's a lot of guilt and shame that's associated with dietary changes. And we don't eat just to fuel our body. We actually eat for a lot of reasons, whether it's cultural, social. Focus on that joy and the experience of it.
I think the one thing that we all agree on is that we hope to really equip people with is the ability to critically think for themselves. And we're very careful about not saying eat this, not that, but just to get people to start to question, is this really better for me than another product? And I just want to thank you guys so much for sharing all these wonderful tips with us today, and we will see you guys next time.